Well, what is going on, boys and girls? Well, what's going on, boys and girls? Brent Allen here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about something that's a very, very useful tool for anyone that's serious about pan fishing, and honestly, fishing in general, but I think more specifically pan fishing because we're dealing with large numbers of fish. So at least here in Florida, we're talking 25 specks per person. Come bluegill and shellcracker season, that's 50 per person, and that also includes, you know, like warmouth bass. If you're out there catching cichlids and Oscars, you can catch and keep as many of those as you want. So again, you know, we're talking about large quantities of fish. There's only one tool to properly tackle that kind of quantity, and that's an electric fillet knife. Now, I know there's probably guys out there that'll argue this with me until the cows come home, but you know what? I've been doing this long enough to know that I don't want to sit there with a regular fillet knife and clean hundreds of fish. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. That's why I've moved on to something like what I'm fixing to show you. Now, when I first started out using electric fillet knives, I started out using the corded ones, which they're great because you don't have to worry about battery power when it comes to like the cordless knives. However, they're kind of cumbersome. At least that's the way it was for me. You know, I think it really depends on your fillet table setup. There's a lot of different factors that are involved there, but at least for me, and I think I can speak for my father as well, when you've got a cord sitting there pulling against you and kind of getting in your way from time to time, it's not really comfortable. I don't know about you guys, but I want to be as comfortable as possible. I don't want any resistance against what I'm doing. So that's where, in my opinion, having a nice cordless fillet knife is just primo. I mean, it's the cat's ass, the bee's knees, whatever you want to call it. So then you may be wondering, well, which electric fillet knife do I get? And especially nowadays, you have a lot more options than we used to, you know, between Rapala and Bubba. What I can tell you is I started out with this. This is the Rapala ION. And this thing has been through the ringer, boys. Let me tell you what. I mean, I bet I have cleaned several thousand fish with this easily. You know, I've never bought new blades for it, and I've never bought new batteries. However, they did have a recall on the batteries, you know, after a couple years of owning it. So they did send us some new batteries. But you know what? This thing has been fantastic. And, you know, if anyone's looking to get into a good electric knife, you know, granted the one I'm fixing to show you is better than this, but this knife has held up great. Like I said, several thousand fish, and both my father and I own one of these, and it's never let us down. Now I'm just going to do a quick rundown of this Rapala ION. This is still available. You can still buy it from Rapala. The weird part is it's only priced like $10 or $20 cheaper than the newer R12, which I'm going to get into here in a little bit. Honestly, and there's a difference between the R12 and this older ION, and the difference is the R12's the better option. So spend 10 or 20 bucks more, get a better knife. So anyway, but yeah, quick rundown on this. This has a 2000 milliamp hour battery, I believe. This is what the battery looks like. In this case comes two batteries. So you get one in the knife, and then you get an extra one. And then it comes with two blades. You get a 6-inch and then a 7.5-inch. If you guys don't know how electric knives work, there's two blades per pair. So this is the 6-inch blade on the Rapala ION. Now, there's two blades, and as you can see, there's a little notch that you can notch them together like this, and when you stick them in the knife, they run back and forth, and that's what gives it that real quick fillet action. So I'm just gonna socket them in here. So you can see how that works there. Just kind of bumps them back and forth, and that's all there is to it. Now, like I said, this knife has held up great. Really, my only complaint with it over the years is that the base where the battery clicks into the knife itself, it gets pretty hot after, I don't know, 45 minutes to 50 minutes, up to an hour. I mean, it's nothing that's going to burn you, but it does get significantly warm. So, but other than that, I can't say really anything bad about it. It's a really solid knife. Just a couple other features on this thing. On the trigger, it's got a locking mechanism, so if you got your knife in there and you don't want to cut yourself or something, you can just click that in and you can't engage the trigger. On the sides, you have these two black buttons, and that's how you disengage the blades. So if we go ahead and click these in like that, unlock. All right, so now it's running. Click that button in. Now I can't cut myself. But if I want to disengage these blades and say switch them out for the 7.5 inch blades, just press those two side buttons together, pull them out. Now you can see I kind of fought it there. It's a thing. It's been a while since I've actually used the Rapala ION. So this actually does not come with a charging base. The R12 does, but the standard Rapala ION just comes with a charging plug with a cable that plugs directly into the battery to charge it. So it's not actually a base, it's just a charger and a cable. So just want to throw that out there. That's really all there is to this thing. I mean, it's a great knife. I'm not really going to dive into more detail about it because that's really not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you my new favorite knife, the Rapala R12. So moving on to the big dog, the Rapala R12. Now I've had this knife for a little over a year now. Now both of these knives, the Rapala ION and this R12, the runtime that they advertise is 80 minutes continuous. And I would say that's every bit of being accurate because, as I said, we put these knives through some serious fish. I feel like I have run this more than 80 minutes continuously. I could be wrong, it's not like I'm timing myself, but at any rate, you know, definitely get 80 minutes out of it continuously. That is accurate. So these batteries, they look a bit different, a little bit thicker, and then as you can see, this thing just pops in like that. And what's really cool about the R12 is you have this battery light indicator on here. So let me just unlock this. I don't know if that'll come through on the camera, but it lights up to let you know how much battery is left in that cell. So that's pretty neat. You definitely won't find that on the old ION. So some differences with this one. Now I will say the R12, it's a little bit chunkier, a little bit heavier. So, but it's nothing significant enough to where it's bothersome, at least for me. But yeah, so this one's a little bit chunkier, has a little more weight to it, but I like how this is set up more because, so on the top, this is where you have the button to engage the blades, whereas on the old ION, you're using your pointer finger. So now you're using your thumb. My dad wasn't quite keen on this, but honestly, like once you use it for a little bit, you just get used to it. And now the locking mechanism is on the side here. So this is how you keep your finger from getting cut off if you're engaging or disengaging the blades. So, and then underneath you have this red button. Now I'm going to show you the blades that come with this R12. Now it's going to be the same. You get a 6-inch blade and a 7.5-inch blade. So up top we have the 6-inch. On the bottom is the 7.5-inch. And I'll be honest, I usually stick to the 7.5-inch blades just because, you know, you get them big old slab crappie. Y'all know what I'm talking about. 7.5 inches is the way to go. Now the difference in these blades that come with the R12, these are coated in what I believe is like a Teflon coating. So, you know, it doesn't make a difference. I don't really think so. As long as they're sharp and they do the job, that's all I care about. So let me just go ahead and engage these blades here. Okay. So right now I got it locked. So now that they're not engaging, unlock it. I don't know if you can tell from this video, but there's a lot more RPMs going on in this R12 as opposed to the original ION. And I'm going to throw in some B-roll footage showing you us going through a bunch of crappie with both knives, so you can see the difference between these two. If I press this button on the bottom, I can pull these blades right out like that. So that's a lot easier to do as opposed to that original ion where you have to press the buttons on the side together and kind of wiggle them out. This is just one and done, easy peasy. Night and day, isn't it?
All about making life a little bit easier.
It is. Now another cool feature is this little light. I've actually used this light on several occasions cleaning fish when it's nearly dark out. You wouldn't really think so, but it helps, it really does. So I mean, that's kind of a cool little feature there. It's not gonna light up the whole yard or anything. I mean, you see how big it is, it's pretty tiny. But it does help if you're in some low light conditions. Now let's talk about how these batteries are charged. The R12 does come with a charging base, and this is the base. This kind of reminds me of my DeWalt battery chargers, but you have the little indicators down there to let you know what it's doing. It's pretty neat, and it's just a regular plug here at the other end. But I really do prefer the base like this as opposed to that original ion where it's just the plug and the little cable with it. And there's really nothing to this. I mean, you just take the battery and you click it in like that and it starts charging. Now, as far as charging these batteries, in my experience, it takes 45 minutes to an hour for these things to fully charge up when they're completely dead. So, you know, typically what we'll do if we've got like a huge batch of, you know, crappie or bluegill or shell crackers that we're doing, I mean, I always pre-charge this stuff, but, you know, if I happen to get one that runs out, I'll just pop it right onto the charger. And if I need it for, you know, a later batch of fish, you know, by the time that one's dead, the one I was charging is ready to go. So, yeah, I mean, they don't take long to charge up, which is super nice. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit closer look at the cases of both these knives. All right, so as you can see, it's a real nice, sturdy case. Open it up, everything's laid out real nice. Got both your blades there, the 6-inch and the 7.5. Little compartment for the spare battery, and then your charging base. And then up front here, I keep my regular fillet knife, my scaler, and then a little magic marker in this little pocket up here, mostly just for labeling bags of fish and stuff. So this is the carry case for the older ion knife. If we open this up, you're going to see it looks pretty similar. We've got the storage for both the 6-inch and 7.5-inch blades, and you know, you got your spare battery, little charging cable, and then the knife itself. Well, as I'm trying to show you guys the case for the old one, I dropped it into a huge patch of poison ivy. So that's gonna be fun. I gotta clean that up. So that's about it on both of those knives. Now, as I mentioned, the R12, to me, it's worth the extra 10 or 20 bucks because you're gonna get that extra torque. You're gonna get the extra features of the knife, which is like the battery indicator, the little light on the front, much easier to remove the blades. So it's just an all-around better package, especially with that nice charging base. Now, I know this is kind of a steep price tag, but the last time I checked, they're $189 for the R12. And, you know, that's a lot of money to pay for an electric fillet knife. Now, if you're not as serious about pan fishing or regular fishing, cleaning fish all the time, obviously that's probably not worth it to most people. You know, you could just use a regular fillet knife and that'll do the trick. You just got to be a little more patient with it and spend more time. But again, pan fishing, larger quantities of fish, stuff like this makes sense to make that investment. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make this video to share with you guys in more detail some of the tools that we're using to do what we do. And in my opinion, that R12, game changer, absolute game changer. But if you have the opportunity to scoop the older ION for like a deal, maybe it's used from someone or maybe it goes on sale at some point, that is not a bad knife. And again, I've used it for several years and several thousand fish. And my only complaint opposed to the R12 mostly is that it doesn't have the same amount of torque as the R12. But it still gets the job done. That's what my dad still uses until we get him upgraded to the R12. Which maybe after this video, it might happen, I'm not quite sure. But regardless, both are excellent knives, but the R12, best knife yet, in my opinion. If you guys have any questions on either one of these knives, oh, actually, you know what? Before I close this video out, there's something that I found that was kind of cool about both of these knives. Let me show you real quick. You guys may be wondering, well, Brent, can I put the blades from the original ION into the R12? Well, I'm glad you asked. You absolutely can. So as you see, R12, gonna pop these puppies in here, and pretty sweet, right? Now you also may be wondering, well, can I do the same thing but put the R12 blades into the original ION? As a matter of fact, whoa, look at that. So that's pretty cool. I mean, the batteries aren't interchangeable, but the blades are. So in case that's something you're wondering about, maybe you have this knife already and you're considering upgrading to the R12, you got 2 sets of blades to add to your repertoire. I'll show you guys some of the glorious poison ivy we have over here, especially right now because spring has sprung and it's popping up big time. Oh yeah, there's some over right there. There's some more of it, and there's a big old one there. Nasty, nasty stuff. I'm probably gonna break out just by looking at it because I'm super sensitive to it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions on either one of these knives, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions I can. Again, if you guys are serious about pan fishing, scoop that knife. That R12 is a beast. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, hit that button, hit that bell so you get notified for new videos. And make sure you check out the Slab store, which is at slabpanfishing.com if you want to pick up some sweet merch. That's all I got for y'all. See you on the next one. Boom.